Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the HGC qualifiers for Eastern Clash for Southeast Asia. Will be our casters for today. I'm Riku. Joining me here is Jayhow. How you doing?
Good, good. Getting warmed up after that first series, seeing a Deadly Kitten coming out, doing what I expected them to do, showing their dominance from the previous.
The Butcher.
The Butcher. I had a little bit of insight. I told them, I said they needed to play it, and they did. So I'm pretty much done here.
And you're out.
So drop my pen.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell from your excitement earlier when they drafted that Butcher last pick, you were like, hey!
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Just one time in every tournament. That's all I need is just one Butcher game. It's like an itch you need it to get it scratched. So that's kind of where I lie with Butcher.
Yes, sir. But we'll head on to our second match for today, and that'll be Resurgence versus Playstomp. Interesting.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about it off camera right before about how Resurgence, you know, the core of their group's still together, but they've had some roster changes, so we don't know what their strengths are. You know,
yes.
We saw Resurgence, they won back in February to qualify for the first Eastern Clash this year. They fell short in April to Deadly Kittens, although they went to the grand finals, won, but had the rubber match, and now they're here. So we really don't know what to expect just yet. Obviously, they're one of the higher seeds. They've got the name recognition, things like that. So we expect something out of them, but we just don't know how much to expect. I think that's the biggest question with this team.
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited about this matchup here. Just as Babel mentioned earlier, you know, they lost Julian, they lost CW. So the question mark here is how that new roster is going to synergize with everything. But, you know, Playstomp also has a couple of veteran players up their sleeves. They've got Hiskoa. I mean, I think they were teammates before at Conbox C with some of the members from Deadly Kittens. They also have Lauda and Bun Bun. So they're also pretty much seasoned players as well from the Southeast Asian scene.
Well, we've got a lot of info on these teams, but we know everybody at home is ready for these games. So we're going to head into our second series here, Resurgence versus Playstomp, and it will be opening up on Cursed Hollow.
Alrighty, we'll see though what they have planned here, as both of these teams are definitely seasoned players, with Resurgence one of the fan favorites of Southeast Asia. We'll see how they're going to turn out here for our first match for Resurgence, rather than Playstomp Cursed Hollow. What do you think? What are the priority picks here for this map?
Well, I think unlike our first series that we saw, they were smaller battlegrounds. This one, high priority on Dahaka. Before I could even get the words out of my mouth, they're hovering it for the ban, and I really like that. You want to take away the global control. Dahaka, one of the absolute best heroes in the game, especially when we talk about large battlegrounds. They're going to go ahead and take that off the board. I like that a lot.
All right, Resurgence definitely has a plan in mind, taking out Dahaka right away. So Playstomp, let's see how they're going to respond with this. We've seen, you know, the first bans, the contested picks like Genji, the Oriole picks. So let's see how they're going to adjust with this, just as I mentioned, Genji being banned, getting taken out of the table there.
The interesting part about this is that if you're first banning Dahaka, you don't put that burden on the enemy team, which means that you weren't planning on going it to begin with. So with them banning out Genji, you now run into the heroes that would be high priority. Tassadar, Anubarak, and Uther. But again, this is post-Anubarak changes that we're seeing. So we don't know yet how high he falls in the current meta. You know, the health nerf alone, you know, the range on the cocoon, things like that, just when you look at them hypothetically, you can see ways that it will go, but it's still going to be a good hero. So yeah. How good is he going to be, and how high does Resurgence? I'd love to see a first pick Uther, but if they end up going to Anubarak or Tassadar, I would not be surprised at all. They end up going Uther.
They end up with Uther, just as you mentioned, which is quite understandable. Let's see how Playstomp will respond to this. I mean, there are a couple of heroes open up for them, knowing that Uther has been picked on the table. What do you think would be their potential damage dealers here? I mean, Greymane, is Greymane an option for them?
I think Greymane is a great option all the way around. I mean, Greymane does so many things on this battleground. In a team fight, he's got the auto attack damage. He's got the blend of the spell damage there, although we're going to see an Ariel pickup. Are we going to see the Tassadar? They're going to go Ariel Vala right out of the gates, which we already saw in our first series, that prioritizing that and going into the Cho'Gall, I don't know if we'll see it, because if you do it, the way the pick bans, when you're second pick, it's a little bit trickier because you have to pick it in the third, fourth slot on yours, giving the last two picks over, and that's two counter picks that you can go. That's generally why if you're going to pick Cho'Gall, you do it when you're first pick, so that the last two, and they only have one pick to counter it. So I doubt we'll see that, and it is Cursed Hollow after all.
Yeah, I mean, Resurgence probably would see that option coming, especially that we've seen a similar or a mirror composition right at the previous match we witnessed during the first set. Oriel Vala could be a protect the Vala composition. I mean, there are a couple of front lines that they could pair that up with, but Greymane being taken, being paired here for Resurgence.
You know, one thing that, you know, I've seen a little bit, especially in the North American region, I don't know if we'll see it here. If they do, then I'll know they've taken it from somewhere else, but the Brightwing recently has been fitting into more and more double supports, and there is basically top 3 meta right there, Uther, Greymane, and Uberak. But Brightwing, with the new changes to her E, getting that spell armor now when you throw that out there, plus you have the power of the global, it fits into that double support comp to protect that, and then also you have the Emerald Wind, which gives you better raw healing, plus it gives you the potential to disrupt a dive composition by pushing them away. So I don't know if that's something that we'll see, but if we do see it, we'll know that in some way North America's had an influence on this draft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a potential outplay that you could do, like these surprise attacks, whenever you bring the Brightwing in. So we'll see, though. Resurgence looks really strong in their draft, but Playstomp seems to have some sort of composition on their own. It's more like the draft that they've been forming is Abathur.
I like that.
Okay.
Abathur on Cursed Hollow, this is one of his better battlegrounds, and a cloned Greymane is terrifying. You have the battleground control, you have the global control. You know, Stitches was something that I was worried about, but the thing about Stitches with a Vala Ariel, you put Vala into a Rain of Vengeance, you know, which is fine, and you kind of need the follow-up CC. If you run a Stitches into a hook and you don't have the follow-up CC, Oriel doesn't do that. But one thing that you can do with Ariel is that if you have the Stitches, you can go Detainment Strike into a Tassadar Force Wall. Instead, wow, okay.
Arthas and Illidan, what do you make of that? I mean...
Yeah, Arthas in itself, strong hero overall, can do well contesting the tributes, and then it also does really well against dive comps because of that, but Illidan is one of those heroes that we've seen a lot of hunt. It's kind of that pseudo-global. They're taking the Tassadar away. I like this pickup a lot, but the Arthas Illidan, it's kind of, you've got your backline damage dealer, you've got your frontline dive, but the fact that they did not prioritize, because Tassadar would work really well in this composition. It complements Vala, it complements Illidan. The fact that they did not prioritize the Tassadar makes me feel that they're just not comfortable running that, because I think they could have easily gotten the Illidan on the back half of that draft.
Same here. I'm a bit worried whenever Illidan actually dives into the Resurgence comp, and then he just might not be able to do anything. He would just probably die, because I think Oriel is definitely not going to be enough for the protection and the heals. So maybe you're right. Maybe they'd go for a double healing composition, but we'll see. As Resurgence has secured the Tassadar, again, you said that it would have been perfect, but looks like Resurgence has picked Falstad for the second DPS.
Picking a Falstad into an Illidan is not exactly the way that you want to do that. I mean, Falstad does at level 4. It's kind of something, we see hammer gains, obviously, to help him out in the solo lane. There's going to be the Brightwing. So they do go Ariel Brightwing. So there is some play of other regions coming in to figure out how to help that. So the other thing is that not only does Arthas help against dive comps, so does Brightwing, things like that. So you have the pushback. And so one of the things about Falstad into Illidan is that if Falstad gets caught out, it's terrifying, right? Falstad can fly away, but with the hunt, generally you're trying to split soak with a Falstad. Obviously, you can throw an Abathur hat on there. You've got Static Shield at level 4 over the hammer gain. So depending on how they build, Static Shield does well, because it's really hard to stutter step against an Illidan diving you. So you need that added protection. So one of the ways to do that is with a level 4 talent. So they have enough wave clear between the Greymane and Uberak, Tassadar, Falstad that I hope that we see maybe a more offensive-oriented build into that Seasoned Marksman. But we might see going into the hammering build just to deal with a potential Illidan. Yeah,
with the potential dive comp. I can imagine all these mighty guests will just be invested onto, you know, with the disengage whenever Playstomp goes into these really aggressive dives.
One of the sneaky things that you can do, the minute you force out a Crystal Aegis, you just gust the team away, and you're like, well, there's somebody left here. But the thing is, you could also isolate heroes in the same way with the Cocoon.
Actually,
and that's one of the scarier things. I think that's why double support is going to help a lot, but Brightwing doesn't have the burst heal. And if you are trying to push that back, then now you're going Emerald Wind as opposed to Blink heal. And so you kind of, it's kind of which one is more valuable at that point. And so I think that depending on if we're going to see that, you might end up going into Blink heal where the Emerald Wind is going to separate the team. And then you're thinking like, all right, are we getting that value? And then Cocoon comes in and you're like, all right, now we don't have burst heal because Ariel's in the Cocoon.
Yes.
And I don't have a Blink heal and I only have Emerald Wind. Now you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's true. Depends on the Playstomp's play style. Okay, all right. Playstomp's play style here against Resurgence. So I'm really excited about this because I really don't know what to expect because both of these teams have seasoned players from the scene. So it's just really about who gets to play their draft well. But during the late game, who do you think would win this?
Late game, I mean, you really got to favor global compositions, but you have Illidan that's going to be there who's got the pseudo global. But anytime you have an Abathur on your team, or excuse me, the Abathur was banned.
Yeah.
But I wish they had an Abathur on their team. But, you know, you have the Falstad in response, so you have the global control. So you can't really say one team has the global control, but looking at it, you got to think that the team of Resurgence is going to have a better late game.
Yes, and we'll about find out what's going to happen here for our second match for today, Resurgence versus Playstomp.
Playstomp, and we are going to see Resurgence here on the left. And for Resurgence, we're going to have Capricorn on Uther, Zappy on Falstad, Pizza Xiao, Pizza Crazy on an Uberak, Meltis on Greymane, and Yu Yang on Tassadar.
All right, red side, we've got Playstomp, Hiscoa on the Illidan, Lauda here on the Arthas. Meanwhile, we've got Bun Bun on the Brightwing, and we've got the Vala, Perez on Vala, and TNK on the Oriole.
Unfurling Spray for Brightwing says that she's going to be trying to babysit an Illidan in the sense that Soothing Mist range is not that large as we see a full 5-man collapse here up at the top, and that's going to help out a lot. Hiscoa is hanging out there in the bush. He's like, I don't really know what to do, so I'm going to dive in, and then I'm going to instantly use Immolation out.
Yes, sirree. And looks like that's going to be the rotations here from Resurgence as Falstad flies there and defends. So that's a pretty good rotation. First rotation from Resurgence.
Yeah, you know, we are going to see this here, this full push in. Because Falstad had that global to push away, you just don't really have that threat. Double support, you're going to go in. This is the part where Illidan's going to go in, but he's got to be careful. But we do see the season marksman build for Falstad. That push for the Falstad with the team up there, pushing the Falstad down, and then you have two great solo laners. As Tassadar, Falstad will be occupying those lanes. But this push here, with the Uther, Greymane, and Uberak, there's not much to deal with them. Their only range damage is going to be Vala, and she's busy elsewhere.
Exactly, and the lack of wave clear from Playstomp is something that Resurgence can take advantage during the early phases of the game, and that's why, you know, that's a well gone. So top side, Illidan goes in, tries to distract them, Meltis being the focus target as the rest of the members from Playstomp joins them, but nothing much they can do as they run away.
One of the tricky things is that when you play Brightwing, you have to understand your positioning. You have to understand when to use your global. The good thing is that that was used at about 1 minute and 35 seconds. You have the global. You need to make sure and prioritize that. So that's something we'll keep an eye on as it goes on. Is we see Falstad was taken down elsewhere, but right now both teams, you see level 4 has been picked up here first for Playstomp.
Yes, sirree. As Vala and Oriole, of course, they're going to be sticking around there. Try to pressure the bot side as Capricorn rotates to respond to this with a couple of Playstomp players just riding with the pace of the game from Resurgence. Now 2 for 2 here.
The hardest thing is that Arthas occupying the solo lane, as we are going to have a quick pause. Just bring me right back.
Yeah.
With Arthas being there in that solo lane, he's actually had a really hard time. I was keeping an eye on the questing talents. And going up against the Tassadar, it's really difficult to land that. He actually just landed his first Howling Blast. He finally started to get his level 4 going as well, getting that damage on there. So Arthas, you know, we talk about late game talents, things like that. That Arthas, the utility version of what we're going to have, obviously is going to be one of the things that will apply a lot towards the team fight as we are about ready to go back in. But Arthas is going to be one of the things. We're about to hit our first tribute. You know, we saw the Falstad pick off. So right now, Resurgence looks like they know what they're doing, but the trade onto forts feels a little weird, I think, for both teams. But the thing about that is Resurgence was the one dictating the pace.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why Playstomp is sort of adjusting. I mean, they did so well with the adjustments for the first part. And just as you said, the first few curses will actually spawn in a while, but looks like they're going to secure a camp just to add a little pressure, and that's their reply there for Resurgence. There's a tribute.
And earn my favor.
Well, our first tribute will be at the bottom. The good thing is Brightwing will be able to deal with that siege camp up at the top, which means that she'll be able to clear that hopefully soon. But we got to see Brightwing's just going to go ahead and come in. They're going to look for the pick, the polymorph onto Greymane, and they will secure that first kill before that tribute, second blood of the game here overall.
Wow, they definitely intercepted. Saw that coming. Playstomp just blocked them out, and they just damaged them. And that's going to be a pick for Resurgence. They will not be able to get the first tribute, but that's okay. That's just the first tribute, but still, that's Hiskoa just jumping into Zappy here. There's a slow stun from the Tassadar, but they will still be A-okay.
You know, we are seeing hammer gains picked up. That obviously has great synergy with Seasoned Marksman, especially when you are the solo laner, but we saw it there. The protection of the Tassadar shield will be needed when an Illidan dives that back line. If that's not available, that Falstad would be going down. So when we get into the later team fights, we'll see exactly how valuable mending strikes will be, or the hammer gains, I should say.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see as this goes on.
Well, first tribute already gained by Playstomp. That's still going to be okay. But of course, map-wise, there's a lot of pressure on the bot side of the map coming from Resurgence as Playstomp still secure. So it looks like they've regained their composure coming from the first few minutes of the game as they have more control this time. Again, with the globals that they have is pretty much helping them out with the rotations coming from Resurgence. They got a first pick off as well. Here comes the first pick.
There's the cleanse onto Meltis, which is something to talk about in itself. The Hand of Protection for Uther functions a little bit differently than your traditional cleanse, but they felt that was needed over Fear the Ancient Kings, and right now that would be valuable. So Root onto Meltis is going to secure that kill, and now we see the Polymorph going onto Capricorn. He's going to fall, and somehow Hiskoa is staying alive.
Well, look at that. Hiskoa still diving onto the Anubarak. Look at those body blocks. Fitz has nowhere to run. And that'll be 3 deaths on the side of Resurgence. No casualties whatsoever onto Playstomp. Well played.
Oh, man, I tell you, Playstomp, I know it's a little ambitious, but I would love to see an instant dive onto that boss there and just take complete control, because the next tribute will be at the top right. They are going to go ahead and start their boss. We see on the mini-map Illidan going up there. The first 2 tributes in that bottom portion on the left and middle quadrant, so it's going to be at the top right next. It gives them a power play. Oh, they hopped off of it. I'm surprised that they didn't try and get that. They'll have 10. And then you have 10, you have the pseudo-global with the hunt, and then you have that pushing with a curse, which means you can open up the map elsewhere. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't make that play.
Looks like they're going to be playing safe for now as Playstomp has reached level 10. Well played, perfect timing, 3 kills plus more pressure to Resurgence as once the next tribute has spawned, definitely Resurgence has to contest, or else they're really going to be playing on the backside. But they still have to reach level 10. It's going to be too risky if they enter the fight.
Well, we saw the Siege Giants picked up there by Resurgence, which is actually really well timed because they know that they're not going to be able to contest this tribute.
Yes.
And the Siege Giants do really well to defend against a cursed push. And that's the thing, is when the curse is pushing against you, you have to find ways to mitigate it. You're going to give up a little bit, but you don't give up nearly as much by having those Siege Giants there. Your minions will die instantly. The Siege Giants, though, will have that full health. So it gives you an opportunity to play a little bit safer. The thing is, Illidan hasn't locked in as heroic. And if you're playing as Falstad, something like that, you don't want to be caught out alone, hunt in. You know, it's a very dangerous position right now, but you're giving up a curse early game before 10, which means you'll be able to get 10 before the next tribute phase, the next 2 tribute phases, to find an opportunity to get back in the game. Right now, for Resurgence, it's about mitigating damages so much as about that hard defense. I'd love to see them play a little bit more passive, continue to soak as best you can in the meantime, to get back in the game.
Yeah, as they have, I think they're 2 levels back, I believe.
They're 2 levels back, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things is we actually have a replay to figure out exactly how that opened up. We'll take a look while we're in the pause to take a look at that replay. As the whole thing is, Greymane right there. Hand of Protection was used shortly before that. Fear of the Ancient Kings would have been just tremendous to help there. You can see Zappy was trying to get the kill onto Illidan, but he was able to stay alive. Just nicely done. Nice coordinated fight there for that of Playstop.
Yeah, just the Howling Blast whenever you get caught up in these congested areas is just really scary. And the funny thing is that Resurgence got caught up on the same area as well while they're rotating back at the bottom. So it's kind of like deja vu. But right, we're going back into the game. Resurgence versus Playstomp. Third tribute rather is about to spawn. And Resurgence, just as J-House mentioned, they have to keep defending this and mitigate whatever damages they can, as they are actually...
This is bad.
They're spotted by Lauda.
He's just been sitting. Nobody has checked that bush, but there's the hunt. It's going to go in directly on there. There's the cleanse onto Zappy. He's going to be on that backside. But again, Capricorn is caught out, and now they have themselves a free boss that was halfway done for them, and that's just going to amplify the curse push.
Exactly. A boss and a curse and one missing member from the side of Resurgence. It was a very risky play, and just as you said, they didn't check the bush. If somebody was camping there, gaining information, probably Playstomp expected this sort of play from Resurgence as they scouted the bot side. And then again, Falstad pushing towards the top side of the map as Playstomp will enter the fight.
They're going to enter the fight. I think they're going to have it on their hands, the shield onto Meltus, but they aren't able to keep him alive. Lauda going in as well. They're going to get the lockdown onto Anubarak, and they are looking for more, but this is going to be a keep down 7 minutes in, Riku.
Man, this is just so early. I mean, it's understandable. Cursed Hollow, things can get a little bit too snowbally, and there we go. Falstad, Zappy uses the Mighty Gust for disengage, but the rest of the members from Playstomp just so healthy, and the boss as well.
Oh
and
my.
this is just so problematic. Polymorph onto Capricorn. That'll be A-okay, but everybody's just focusing on the core, and that'll be 7 minutes GG. Playstomp. Oh my. That boss just did it.
There's just small, subtle things for Resurgence, I feel, that if they had made just a couple of small changes, they would have been fine. The Hand of Protection, obviously, I don't think worked out as well. The Uther play, a little bit questionable there, but Playstomp all around. They had good control of the battleground. They had good control of their heroes, and they knew when to get the picks, where to go with the picks. I don't know who half these guys are, but I'm impressed.
Same here. I mean, it's like they read what Resurgence was trying to do all this time. They took advantage of everything. They regained their composure during the first minutes of the game. Just basically stomped the first match.
Compositionally wise, Resurgence had a really good draft. I'm not as high up on the Falstad, but it can work in there. You have the global, you have a lot, you get 10, you use the global and everything to take control of the battleground. It's just, I feel they didn't know that what their strengths were and how to use them. They felt, we'll push in the fort, and then they lost the member down at the bottom, and then they didn't know what to do to respond to their, they gave up picks. There were no full 5-on-5 tribute fights. It was just like they're hanging out in the bush. Multiple times they just walked right past there, and it's like small, subtle things that if they do them a little bit differently, we have a very different game on our hands.
Same. I mean, they got caught out twice during their rotations, and they weren't able to, slow the game down. So I guess, it could be something that they can learn from as we're going to be heading to our second match later on.
Yeah, I mean, Resurgence, we talked about, we didn't know what to expect of them. The core of this group is still here.
Yeah.
But again, Meltus, going in there, it's small things like, I believe right at the end there, Greymane was still in human form. You get armor when you go into Worgen form. I don't know, maybe it was on cooldown, something like that. Yeah. But the subtle things that they didn't do, they have a chance to make up for it here in game number 2. But this Playstomp team, I'm super impressed. I mean, you win a game 7.5 minutes against the team that's as established in theory as Resurgence.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to start off the day.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they read Resurgence so well. They knew where to wait, where to intercept them whenever they make these rotations, and that's why I think Resurgence wasn't able to capitalize on their strategies or on their tactics, where they always had to lose someone whenever they make these exchanges. So it's more like, instead of just them gaining the advantage, it's like giving an exchange instead. So we'll see how they play it out on the next round.
Yeah, we'll be heading into the second game here in just a moment, but it's going to be Sky Temple, another heavy macro-focused map. And we saw that Playstomp had really good answers for what they wanted to do. And we saw the first ban on Tahaka and then the late pickup of Falstad. But on the other side, we saw the Brightwing. I talked about the Ariel very early on. And if they wanted to pick up the Brightwing, I love that. We didn't even get to see a whole lot. I mean, it ended in 7.5 minutes. But I really like the thought process there, is that their thought process from their macro perspective, and plus from what they wanted to do talent-wise when they picked up the Ariel Vala early on. It's a strong composition, and they complemented that really well. They played to their strengths. So Playstomp, I feel, I want to see who picked this battleground. I believe it. I'm trying to figure out who picked it, but the fact that you're going to another heavy macro-focused map after what we saw last time was. I'm getting the updates here. I'm waiting for it to update, but that right there in itself makes me worry for Resurgence.
You think they're going to be prioritizing the same picks like Brightwing and Falstad and probably another Dahaka ban, as this is going to be a Sky Temple?
If I am Resurgence, I'm considering the Oriole ban for sure. No doubt about it, the Oriole ban should have high priority. But Dahaka, again, are you willing to let Dahaka through, or do you want to try and get it yourself? If you give him up, then there's a lot of really good heroes you can pick up on that backside. But Dahaka, strong as he on Cursed Hollow, he's just as strong on Sky Temple and can control a lot. Force rotations out of teams, control lanes. He's really hard to get those ganks on. I mean, think about that. If you have, instead of Falstad, you pick something like Dahaka or something along those lines, and you shift your draft around, you have completely different control. Dahaka has so much more survivability than Falstad in those instances. So prioritizing that is definitely something that I want to see different for Resurgence here.
Yeah, we'll see, because I think the first pick right now would be definitely Playstomp, and then let's see if they're willing to give Dahaka away, or Oriel, or still the usual Genji contested pick. We'll see.
The Genji we haven't seen. So there's something to be said, and it's like this a lot right now. I don't know why there's been like this aversion towards it, but Zeratul is always like one of those high priority heroes that he's like the ultimate X factor. One Void Prison can change an entirety of a team fight, but the meta has obviously shifted quite a bit, especially with Genji in there. So things obviously are a little bit different the way that goes. This is probably one of Zeratul's best battlegrounds. So if it's something you can play, then we'll find out. But Riku, I believe we are ready for game number 2 here on Sky Temple between Resurgence and Playstomp.
Alrighty, let's see if Resurgence will be able to pick up from the last match, as it was definitely quite a stomp against Playstomp earlier. And for Playstomp, they have the momentum on their side, so we'll see if they are able to make this a 2-0, as this is a best-of-3 series for our matches for today, as we are waiting for the playoffs, as you can see. So, priority picks, here comes the bans.
I tell you what, if I'm Deadly Kittens, I'm watching this intently. I mean, I'm sure they're familiar with some of these players, but watching Playstomp in game number 1, and just like that, Resurgence does not want to give up that Ariel.
Just as you predicted, Jayhow, Oriel, definitely something, but they're kind of thinking about maybe Tassadar, maybe Oriel, as both of them fit in a lot of compositions. But Brightwing, something that has been very popular on the other regions, correct?
It has, and more so recently, obviously, since the changes. I'm seeing an Arthas hover, an Ariel hover. Maybe they're just taking time to discuss their strategies, knowing that they're going to lock in the Ariel.
Yeah, with Playstomp having the first pick, or no, Resurgence actually having the first pick, as they have the. We'll see. Oriel, they decided on the Oriel instead. So with that in mind, I mean, there's still a lot of top picks that Anubarak, as you said, even though it's nerfed, it's still one of those heroes that fits in a lot of compositions, but still they don't let the Genji get away on the field.
As much as I like Anubarak Uther, and I would be terrified to give up on Anubarak Uther, this is the newer Anubarak, this is the slightly nerfed level 7 Uther. I would like Dahaka, but I am okay with Abathur on this battleground.
Abathur, interesting. First pick as well. So I guess they don't want the risk of having the Abathur banned and get their compositions or strategy whacked up. So we'll see. First pick. Is first pick Abathur a common thing? Because I don't see it as often.
And it's been like this weird shift between Europe and North America to where at times it is, and it's on maps like Sky Temple, Cursed Hollow, and Towers of Doom, but it's really popular, especially Dignitas started to run this. We saw some of the Asian teams run this.
Double Genjis.
Yeah, and you have, like, if you give up an Anubarak Uther here, you still have the potential to pick up a Greymane, and double Greymane, things like that are extremely terrifying. So you have the opportunity to manipulate the draft in that sense, is that you're not giving up a ton of the top tier heroes without something to fall back on. You already banned Ariel, which is something you don't have to worry about picking up yourself. And the only top tier hero that you banned out, or is banned out, is Genji. So now we see the Uther Dahaka. So you have the availability of an Anubarak Greymane here, which is a really, really good start to the draft. Even a Stitches at this point I would be okay with early in the draft.
Looks like Playstomp is prepared for that. Okay, they decided to go for an Illidan Vala instead. So are we going to see double Valas or double Illidans?
Man. Double Illidan is... Having a double Illidan on your backside is actually pretty bad, but a Dahaka Uther is not something you just say, look, I'm comfortable just dive in the backline as this. That early Vala priority there is... It feels like a denial more than something that they wanted, because right now you have so much that could be banned against you. And right now, if I'm looking at what I saw last game, I'm banning out the potential Brightwing here, because Brightwing on the global scale, it complements well with Illidan, but at the same time, if you're trying to dive into the Vala,
I'm kind of worried about the protection that Vala may be lacking. I mean, they do have 2 picks left for their potential frontline and healer and support rather, but looks like Resurgence taking their time with this ban. Just as you mentioned, it's more like a takeaway, as you know, Playstomp has a pretty solid start on their draft. I mean, Uther Dahaka, and they've decided
Arthas all day. I mean,
done.
Arthas all day against this comp. You're talking like double auto attack heroes between Illidan and Vala, and Arthas has built-in physical armor, plus he has the slow the minute Illidan comes in. I just... Double auto attack heroes terrify me. And you're going up against Uther, Dahaka, Arthas. You're not killing any of those. Now we see double support. Illidan goes in. He gets locked down by Uther. He gets locked down by Arthas. Brightwing has the polymorph. They're going to have to round it out with some burst damage. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being something like a Li Ming. You need some type of, I think, mage damage to really try and counter this. And whoever it is going to be very well protected.
That is true.
Oh, man.
It's actually worrisome, as Resurgence has this... I'm pretty sure they're going to be torn whether they're going to reserve their 2 last drafts with either more protection for the Vala or an Illidan, or more
they don't have much.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to get a support and a warrior here, and going Illidan Vala, I mean, both those are extremely vulnerable heroes. And
Regor, okay, and Tyrael. So
there's your dive buddy for Illidan.
Yep.
Judgment, Bloodlust. Are you ready for it, Riku?
I'm ready. Wow, that's pure aggressiveness. But Tychus being the last pick from Playstomp. Interesting.
I'm okay with the Tychus. I mean, one thing that Tychus does well is that if you get hunted on, I don't know if I want to see Drill. I think Drill wouldn't be a bad option, especially because you don't have to worry about auto attacking an Illidan. You could just keep that on him. You don't have the threat of it being bursted down by any hero on the other side. It does really good well to zone out, especially temple phases. But the other thing is you have Odin. You get the armor when you're in Odin, so you pop that, you're getting hunted. The other thing, the small thing about it is that when you're suiting up, you're actually unstoppable. So you get the armor, you get the unstoppable, which isn't that big of a deal, especially because you're running double support. I imagine we might actually see metamorphosis here. You already have the global with Abathur.
Yeah.
Resurgence's draft absolutely terrifies me. It's very one-dimensional, and it feels...
Yeah, there's not much
Illidan Vala
options.
against an Arthas alone, but coupling that with an Uther, Dahaka, Brightwing, and a Tychus, I don't know where they get the kills.
Exactly. I mean, for the draft of Playstomp, it seems more balanced in a way. It's like all their sides or all their aspects is quite protected. Meanwhile, for the side of Resurgence, they do have sustained damage, yes. They have the potential to stick, but the problem is they might not be able to survive in time to actually, kill someone off, get a pick or 2. But then, let's head on to the game. This, again, is the second match between Resurgence, Playstomp, Sky Temple. Here we go.
Here we go. It will be Resurgence on the left again with Playstomp on the right. And Rico, I want to talk about the talents right away. Battered Assault for Illidan, wanting to make sure and get that extra attack damage bonus from 3 to 5 seconds for hitting 2 heroes. You'll have a bunch of melee up there. The only problem is I think it's going to be a bunch of melee you don't want to deal with. And Abathur going into the hat build right out of the gate.
Yes, and I mean, just as you mentioned here, we're going to see Capricorn getting chipped off. There's a slow coming from the Regor. That'll be A-okay as they are able to escape, but that'll be chip damage already on towards the first tower as Tyrael will be at the top side of the map, just there for against Brightwing.
This is going to be so terrifying. To go up against double global and your only real threat is Abathur. I mean, the one thing that I love here already, Playstomp, they've got Dahaka in the bottom lane. Because the first Temple phase is going to be top and middle, you know, I saw this the other day in an Open Division game that I did in North America, is that we saw something similar. During the second Temple phase, they had their globals in the top and middle lane before the second one got maximum soak, got 10, started to snowball, allowed the 3-man to be in the bottom lane. So camp priority now becomes far easier. It becomes far more predictable, but it becomes far easier for Playstomp to kind of just go in, keep their globals, get max experience, and then control the second Temple phase and just blow the battleground wide open just through Temple control alone with your globals. I want to see that at a Playstomp. We're going to see how refined they are.
Yeah, we'll see. As Zappy jumps into Perez, half HP, there comes a drag. But looks like Perez will be in trouble as Zappy can be able to stick to targets as Lauda joins in the fray. But looks like that'll scare Zappy away. And then looks like he will not be able to finish that target off as the first phase of the Sky Temple, temples rather, spawns.
And when you have an Abathur, it makes it far harder to control one. Just have a half split. That's the thing, is that Dahaka needs to go. And this is what Arthas can do. Arthas can walk up on there, delay shots at least for a moment, allow the team on the top. But they're going to come in for a fight. But Lauda, they may slow on that rotation. Talk about where they would get that, but that is one way to secure first blood of the game.
Exactly. Looks like the rotation from Playstomp, as you mentioned, is just a little bit too late, but it's still, even on levels, first blood will go to Resurgence, as Playstomp will just play a little bit more safe. Not going to be contesting as Zappy enters the fight. Bun Bun will heal himself up. Real nice, but looks like that'll be 2 temples being controlled already by Resurgence. Well played.
This is not how I expected the first Temple phase to go. The fact that Dahaka stayed there, he's trying to double soak lanes, which is good, but you gave up a lot in Temple shots, and those Temple shots are your lifeline essentially on this one. And when we look forward ahead, just another level and a half, you got to imagine Mule's going to be picked up there for Abathur. So I highly doubt we'll see the stab there. Mule on this battleground is so strong, and if you give up, if you're not taking advantage of early temples to try and secure structures, you're now going to find that Mule, the second temple phase, the Mule's just going to heal everything up. It's going to heal everything up, and your structure advantage will not be there. Again, Sky Temple, the objective is your lifeline. You have to be able to play around that early and late.
Yes, as Capricorn just scouts as they take a camp there at the bot side in response to Resurgence camp take as well. So it's really going to be problematic. Looks like Playstomp might have a strategy in mind, perhaps, as they are going to play a little bit safer for now. 3-man rotation here at the bot side of our Sky Temple map, with still Brightwing soaking at the top side, but level 7 already for Resurgence as Playstomp sieges the bot lane.
Waiting on the Mule lock-in. Maybe they think that they need more team fight damage, and you would go into the stab to help on that back side. It does add more magic damage, as we see Brightwing went down at the top there.
Whoa.
But Zappy is going to pay for it in return.
But it looks like Tyrael actually enters the fight, and I'm not sure if Yu Yang will be able to escape this as Perez and Loda. Here comes the movement speed, but the Howling Blast will just secure the kill.
He waited for it.
Yep, he did.
That was so. You could have done that a lot earlier. I think it might have been on cooldown, but waiting for him to use that smite to just say, wait a minute, you're not going anywhere? I love the lockdown. Man, this Abathur and Illidan, they are waiting.
Definitely waiting, as both of them have already reached level 8. And we'll see as Dahaka and Brightwing, both of the global threats from Playstomp, are at the top side of the map, but the second phase will be here at the bot side with TNK and Meltis already on standby.
They decide on stab. And at this point, it's good. I mean, you could have already had a full Mule cycle to heal up that tower right there. So they go into full damage build. Now, the camps are going to be at the top. I would have loved to have seen Dahaka on the top lane, a Brightwing in the middle. Dahaka has a little bit better clear, but Dahaka is actually going to come in with the Brush Dog or the Tongue onto Rhaegar. No follow-up, but the hammer's going to come down. The Polymorph is there, but they do not have the follow-up damage. Look for Brightwing to try and get somebody locked down. Tyrael just waiting for Eldruins to lock in.
Well,
and the jukes.
Yes, sirree. The jukes indeed, as the cleanse already pops in for Meltis earlier with all the howling, with all the CC lock from Playstomp. but they will take control of the second phase as the drag goes in onto Tyrael. Yu Yang gets the stun, gets the safety as well, as the zoning coming from Playstomp is working really well for their side.
You know, I talked about having some type of burst damage there, and Tychus, it's a weird type of burst. Bigger they are, obviously does a lot percentage-wise, but I really don't see that. The whole thing is, take a look at this. Illidan has split off and is helping. Abathur body soaking the top, and the race to 10 is actually in favor of Resurgence right now, and now Perez might be caught out here.
Uh-oh, there comes a drag, but looks like that's a stasis going to go underground, but that won't help as they will get another kill, plus another structure.
You get the 10 advantage. But you trade a fort in the process. The whole time, though, Abathur getting that body-soaked top, helping to push that camp the entire time. Illidan waiting to lock in.
Wow, well played, but looks like the rotation Playstomp spots this camp take from the side of Resurgence. They know it's a bit too risky as Dehaka is down, Loda super low as well. Oh my god, look at that. Loda half HP and leading the front lines as Abathur will be killed there at the top side of the map by Dehaka. Yu Yang super low as well as Loda still lives but almost dying. There's Zappy entering the fight, polymorphed as well, but looks like Odin has been summoned. Hiskoa still surviving. He dashes out with TNK super low. They keep going. Perez enters the fight, joins in, gets the drag onto Zappy, finishes the kill, and that'll be 3 for 1 in favor of Resurgence.
That did not go, I think, the way that they had anticipated. They started with the Abathur kill, which is really good because now you don't have to worry about that hat, that extra team fight mechanic there for Illidan on the dive, but again, that's just not what we're going to see there. We are going to see a replay here to take a look at how that fight broke down because things obviously looked really good for Resurgence.
Yeah, we'll see, though, later on as we check out the replay. What went wrong there from Playstomp?
I mean, the whole thing, we saw the Emerald Wind going out there. Lauda obviously using the army to great effect. And again, we saw Abathur go in. But the problem lies in the fact that you do get Odin damage ability-wise, but you run into the fact that Metamorphosis, the appropriate talent was picked there. He got that extra health, but you run into the fact that you don't have that mage damage to deal and burst through the Illidan.
Exactly. And even Perez, after finishing off the Abathur, he joins in, gets the drag, punishes Zappy over there. But you know what? Still, they get the level advantage. They get more map control over that fight. After that fight, get the camps, but it looks like that's going to be bot and middle temple. Let's see how they're going to play this out here from Playstomp after that team fight.
The Metamorphosis pick alone is what distinguishes team fights from here on out. Just the fact that Illidan, we have lockdown. We have so much lockdown on Illidan, but the simple fact that we do not have any type of burst damage whatsoever. I mean, at 13, we'll have the vulnerability from Dehaka, which I think will help out quite a bit when it comes to those team fightings, that big AoE. But right now, I think just a few misplays by Playstomp when it comes to their composition.
Well, looks like they're going to start a flight. I saw Brightwing. They're flying to Lauda, teleporting to Lauda as Resurgence taking control of all temples. Looks like Playstomp has to respect that, will not contest that, as they're going to be securing camps to respond to this aggression.
It goes back to the very first temple phase. The way that we saw Playstomp approach it is that they should have had control there. Instead, they conceded control. And now we see, I talked about how the objective is your lifeline, and eventually it will catch up to you. And the fact now that we see 3 forts down on the side of Playstomp and 2 forts still standing on the side of Resurgence shows that Resurgence understands that their win condition is going to be the objective, and Playstomp just hasn't approached that just yet.
Exactly. It looks like Resurgence is not giving them the same opportunities from the first game, and they've been playing this out really nicely as Playstomp is just pressured to take these camps just so that they can respond, but it looks like Brightwing's going to get picked off at the top side of the map again. I'm guessing that's going to be the Illidan just destroying them at the top side again, as Dehaka will march through the bot side with the camp, with Tyrael rotating as the response.
They're so afraid of giving up the boss. But I talked about global control. The fact that Illidan was top lane, and nobody is responding at top lane. Now we see Playstomp, they're committed to a boss defense. They are absolutely committed to a boss defense. But The biggest problem is that there's a night camp pushing that top lane.
Yeah.
And that Illidan was just babysitting that lane, which means it's going to get mad value. It's going to be enabled by Abathur. Even Abathur can join a team fight. You don't have to give up one way or the other. And so that's kind of the biggest thing right now is this game has potential to just blow wide open. You're going to have to be responding to that top camp. It's got to be Dahaka up there. You just lost Brightwing, and now you're fully defensed against the boss. It is such a threat. And the thing about it is that because they have 4 members standing there, they're not even close enough to be body-soaking lanes.
Yeah.
They're just giving up free experience the entire time. They're giving up lane control in the top lane. And Resurgence is just forcing them onto the boss. And I don't even think, at this point, it's almost okay to give up the boss because you're going to be obtaining experience in the other lanes.
Yes.
You're going to be you have a safe defense in Odin because Odin is one of the best defensive tools. If they opt to siege up in that bottom lane, you have an easy defense there. So I'm a little bit surprised right now. As much as I saw from Playstomp in game number 1, they seem completely out of it right now here in game number 2.
Exactly. It's the complete opposite. We might even see a game number 3 as
We're ready.
will head on back to the game and see how they're going to turn out with this boss defense, as they're really respecting the boss play coming from Resurgence. Just as you mentioned, they're sacrificing a lot of experience for this, as Yu Yang might take the first bite on towards the boss. We'll see if they're going to enter the fight. Who's going to enter first? As Zappy walks into the brush, here comes the stun. Will he be able to escape? Howling Blast, he activates the Metamorphosis, Sanctification as well, being dropped, and here comes everybody else. Odin as well, he's going in a very perfect position, as there is the Dahaka very healthy, just body blocking for the rest of the members, as Yu Yang is just disrupting the backline. Lauda's super low as well. 1 member, 2 for 1 so far, 2 for 2 right now, as Melt is in a very bad spot, being zoned out by Perez, and Pizza Xiao being focusing on his Goa, but meanwhile Capricorn very low as well. 3 members fall, 3 for 3. Playstomp, Resurgence, it's quite equal, as Resurgence decide to just back away and respect that.
That had potential to be a lot worse for Playstomp. They're lucky to get out of there. You know, they ended up losing Tychus on that backside to the Vala clone. I think right now the good thing is that it is a single temple phase. You have the global options to get out there. Brightwing's going to do a lot. We can see that on the minimap to clear up that top lane. But you have to soak 16. You have a potential team fight on your hand here again the minute we see Vala and Tychus come back up. But without the Vala, the clone is available. I'm actually a little bit surprised we don't see a higher priority to come down here and defend this.
Yeah, that's true. As Rhaegar, Capricorn tries to deny or distract that temple there away from Dahaka, with 3 members from Playstomp already rotating bot side. Brightwing ready to join in the fight later on, but you know what? We'll get back into the game as soon as we are ready again.
Yeah. You know, we talk about the play here. You know, we've got TNK on Uther, and it makes me feel like he might not be as familiar with that hero, because in the middle of that last team fight, he had used his Divine Shield onto a Dahaka who had just used his adaptation, which means that he was waiting on a big heal. It might have been the adaptation or the essence itself, but either way, his health bar was coming up. I'm pretty sure it was the adaptation. And it's just, you don't ever want to use your Divine Shield on that unless it's 100%, unless that Dahaka is screaming for a D shield.
Yes.
He has 2 available options. He basically has extra health bars. And so the fact that, you know, we see a little bit of just the uncomfortability right now on the side of Playstop, I just don't know where they're going to find their way back. And the only thing that I've seen them do is team fight. And right now they're going to have to try and go in and team fight again. I think they were about 16 as we started this, but the fact that they're on 16, they're going to have another team fight. Vala and Tychus will be approaching at the exact same time. So we'll see if a team fight breaks out and you get 2 for nothing trade, 3 for nothing trade, then you have a chance for a boss play. If you're on the side of Resurgence, that just blows the doors wide open.
Yeah.
If you're on the side of Playstop, you have your way back in. And speaking of way back in, I'm getting a message here. I believe we're going to have just a quick restart here to kind of even things up. No, actually, I think we are ready. Oh, we're going to go to replay, actually.
All right, we'll see the replay.
I like it all. You know what? Just give me everything. Give me a restart. Don't give me a restart. Give me a replay. I'll take it all.
Yeah, let's see. Let's just break it down Jay, how on what happened there?
Yeah, again, no burst damage, good use of Metamorphosis, hitting multiple targets as well as the Ancestral Landing. But again, the whole thing is you're fighting a 16 versus 14 fight, and things generally don't work out for you in that instance. But as you can see, the vulnerability of everything going on there, but the armor from Uther keeping everybody alive. I mean, that was just, it was mind-blowing how strong that hero is. But look at Pizza Ciao on the Vala clone. Pisco is like, look, I'm taking somebody down. I don't care. Like, I'm getting shot in the back, but I got to take somebody down here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that it could have gone a lot worse. It was a 3-for-3 exchange. I mean, it could have been for the side of Resurgence, it could have been a wipe for the side of Playstomp, but they played it out really well. Just as you mentioned, they don't have that much burst damage, and it was a really congested area. Everybody just, the Uther kept everybody alive. Plus, it was really difficult to finish targets. So I saw how they have different targets in mind. I saw Tyrael trying to just disrupt the backside, disrupt his Goa on the Odin. So it was the perfect play on the Abathur as well. So we'll see, though. I mean, I'm really excited because I still don't know who's going to win, even though I see Resurgence doing really well. And I feel like the style of Playstomp is kill and then translating to objectives. It's not really like the whole macro play. It's like we'll team fight, we'll get a pick, and then we're going to get objectives.
And that's been their approach the entire game. And I just, it doesn't feel like the same team I saw in game number 1. I mean, they team fought excellently, but they team fought around the objective. They knew their opportunities on Cursed Hollow. It seems like their opportunities just aren't as, I guess, well-rounded. They force the action.
Yes.
And they're trying to force the action in a way that doesn't feel natural to the battleground. The objective in Cursed Hollow, obviously you can afford to give up something if something doesn't go right. You can give up a tribute, you can give up 2 tributes. But here, you give up temple phases, you're giving up the game. And that's the thing, is that they just haven't played the way. On a macro scale, sure, it's a global game. But if you're just looking to team fight the whole time, you're going to find yourself in the exact same position, forced to take team fights around a boss at 16-14. Luckily, it didn't go worse, but their opportunities are going to get far and far slimmer because Abathur is still very much in this game.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like they had a plan in mind. Perhaps remove Zappy out of the equation, except that they weren't able to secure the kill. And it didn't turn out to be like a 4v5 or 3v5. Yeah. So for me, I guess Playstomp really just needs to find the fights that they are ready for, and not the type where they're at the disadvantage or they're really pressured right now.
The scary thing for me is they were willing to take that fight. If it broke out on the boss, they were willing to contest because they have Emerald Wind. Emerald Wind is good because it can disrupt and push people off there, but they can't necessarily capture it because 16 was picked up and Tyrael obviously has Holy Ground at 16. So as long as that Tyrael player is throwing that Holy Ground on, Emerald Wind only has 1 charge. And so that goes off. So the timing of that has to be just perfect. But then you have Metamorphosis. It's like, well, that's nice. Let me just go ahead and avoid all of that. I'm going to sit here and fight this. So, and then again, depending on the way Tyrael plays, things like that, as appealing as it is, you have the tools to defend. You have the tools to stay in the lane, to continue to soak XP with Tahaka and Brightwing. You have the tools to defend a boss push because you have Odin, things like that. Their fear of the boss, especially earlier in the game, is a little bit surprising to me because the boss doesn't do near as much damage as, say, the temples or the lack of experience. Because if you're trying to fight 14 versus 16 on a temple, and we already saw they weren't willing to fight down a talent tier, they took the night camp. And so if you're fighting on the night camp and you're willing to give up a temple, but the entire time was because you were afraid of defending the boss, you're now giving up more through the temple than you are structure-wise. Structure-wise alone, you're giving up more through the temple than you would through the boss. But worse, you're giving up the XP. You're not distant, you're just not closing that gap, that distance. You have double global. You can play to that, but they've been picked off. So the defense of the first boss, it just feels off. It's like you're trying to give up and defend this versus taking that. It just feels weird to me. I think I'm repeating myself at this point, but it just feels weird that they prioritize that over the rest.
All right, but it looks like we've got an update, and looks like we're going to have a short break, but we'll get back to you guys later as we head on to our second match, Resurgence versus Playstomp. So we'll see you guys later. time to actually kill the boss, or
yeah, like you can just leave 2 people to kill the boss while you're soaking the entire time, and then you go. Let's go, Riku. We're going right back into the game. No more waiting. Stand by, starting. You know what? Let's resume this. Here we go. Again, we're falling into that range to where 16 was just picked up here by Playstomp. They have every available opportunity to rejoin this game and turn things around.
Yes, Para is very low, so that could be a really good bait as Yu Yang dives in. Here comes the Illidan. There's a stun, and there you go. Loda actually just body blocking everybody else as Odin is being brought up with Illidan just really disrupting the backline. And there we go, Brightwing still alive, but Paris will be probably the first one to fall. Nope, that's going to be the Brightwing as Dehaka follows through with Loda not being able to do anything. That's what Resurgence did. They basically just ignored the Arthas.
Zappy is still going to work here. He is still going to work, and Metamorphosis is going to be used. They are going to get the Uther takedown. Ancestral's been used, but now the keep is prioritizing. Vala's got to get out of there.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, man.
A bunch of hits there, plus the temple being used. But you know what? It's okay. They can afford those kinds of mistakes as 4 people are down from Playstomp.
They can still do boss.
Exactly. They can still do boss. 20 seconds on the death timer for Uther. They'll definitely be needing that if they want to contest, but Lauda still want to take camps here as there's the Hauling Blast just to root them up as Capricorn has no mana for some heals. Here comes the slow, the last of his mana being used. Zappy getting rooted, but he's just too mobile and no lockdown.
Tyrael had to come off that temple. There's still shots left on that temple. It's the last few shots. If somebody just needs to run down there, I think he thought that he got them all.
Oh, man. Wow.
All right, so temple.
Still there.
Still there. They're like, wait a minute, guys, we forgot something.
But Paris looks like he's just going to go.
Oh, it's like when you leave the kids at the park. Did we forget something? I think it's the children.
Oh, right. There we go. But Paris will just, Playstomp will get the few remnants of the sky, of the temple, rather. And here we go with 2 levels below Playstomp. We'll see how they're going to adjust, as there are a couple of camps still available to be taken. They're going to be rotating together. Tyrael, what are you doing there?
That is a really good question. That is pushed out all the way onto the enemy side of the map. You don't see them, so that's an interesting play there. Now, I want to talk about the Illidan build because it's quite dynamic in the sense that we see Battered Assault, so you get the extra time on your sweeping strike, you get the extra lifesteal, you go the extra heal with Thirsting Blade, and we're seeing Blades of Azzinoth picked up, not the dive talent. So you get the extra auto attack damage after you use the sweeping strikes, after you hit multiple heroes. So he recognizes he needs that team fight potential. He's hitting multiple people, proccing that level 1, getting the extra heal off of a 7, and then making sure to get the extra heal on 16. And this is one thing I want to talk about. Resurgence said, I don't care about the boss. That boss does nothing. I do far more, either with the objective or somewhere else. This boss will be cleared up. So you're trading a keep for maybe a keep wall. And this is what I'm talking about. Early bosses are not what you think they are.
Yeah.
I love the play by Resurgence.
I feel like Playstomp just wanted to take that objective because it's the only thing that they could do in the map. And just as you mentioned, look at that. They just tear down the boss. Not even a bunch of towers taken down, just the wall. And another set of temples will be activated soon with camps being taken from Resurgence. So still, at least Playstomp still managed to catch up in levels. But level 20 already on Resurgence, this is definitely a threat, a major threat for Playstomp.
No 20. You've got 2 temples. You're already down 1 keep. Now, both these will be firing at the middle keep, which means that middle keep should fall. And the bottom keep has basically no health. Look at this. Yu Yang, he's going to go there. They recognize they can take this fight. Holy ground, if he opts to use it. They don't have to. Just the threat alone. Just the threat alone. Plus, he went Heraldric Reforging. So he hit a member, so you have the cooldown on that. If you want to throw it again, just try it again.
Uh-oh. 21 already on Resurgence. Here comes the rotations. They're going to disrupt the top side temple, scaring Zappy away. But Resurgence just rotating there, just staying put rather, as Playstomp just has to respect and wait for Resurgence to strike, because they can't do anything for now with just their keep, their core getting attacked already.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's desperation mode. And trading a temple here is definitely advantageous. And they're getting onto Brightwing right now. They're going to go in. They get a pick here. This is game. You've got Illidan. There's no way, I think, that you lose here. There's the double Illidan. Double Illidan across the sky here in Sky Temple.
Wow. We saw the double Vala. We saw the double Illidan. We've seen it all here on our second match against Playstomp and Resurgence. Looks like we're going to see a game number 3.
I don't even know what to expect. I mean, game number 1, 7.5-minute game. I think we need a reminder. 7.5-minute game from Playstomp. And they just came out and they're like, easy game. Second game, it just seems like they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
They had no idea what they were doing. First temple phase, didn't play it appropriately. Second temple phase, you had double global, didn't know what they were doing. Lost the team fights in the middle. The priority on that boss, we saw the boss there. It was 15 minutes in when that boss was picked up. That boss didn't even take a keep wall. But on the other side, they were worried about a 9-minute boss. And they gave up Soak. They had double global. They gave up Soak. They gave up temples because they didn't get the experience to contest the thing. Playstomp needs to regroup because that right there was nothing like what we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy that you mentioned about giving up the boss and just soaking instead, that was what Resurgence did. And they played it out really well. Looks like Playstomp just, for some reason, are so tunnel visioning on that boss. They didn't see what else that they could do in the map.
They focused on it twice.
Yeah.
They focused on it twice. And then the minute they were like, oh, we'll go get it this time.
Yeah.
And so that was the 3rd time. And they were like, all right, we'll give that up. And then you have Illidan alone up there with the team. And anytime Illidan is supplemented by no matter what, I mean, he didn't even go Q build, right? But you just walk right up there, you take the keep, and you're like, that's cool, have that boss. We'll take your keep. And then you just go back. You have no choice but to defend. That boss now is no longer escorted.
Yeah.
And it didn't even get a keep wall. That is how overvalued that is. A boss call is normally a late game desperation call or an early game power play move.
Yes.
Not something that is forced to be defensed that early in the game.
Exactly. So with that said, I mean, Resurgence game number 1 didn't look. I mean, Playstomp looked really good. Now it's quite questionable. Some of their strategies or calls are questionable during our second game. So with that said, it could be a shift now in terms of momentum. It's definitely on the Resurgence side. It seemed like a good warm up for them during the first game, right?
That's a huge shift in momentum. Like, you got stomped. You got stomped in 7.5 minutes on Cursed Hollow. That is not something you say that often. 7.5 minute game on Cursed Hollow is very rare. It normally only happens with an Illidan or a Sylvanas comp because those are the only ones that can really do things like that. But the Illidan comp worked out for them. Illidan on the other side of the coin this time changed it up. We saw the Ariel ban. I think that we'll still see the Ariel ban. But now I pointed it out. The Uther play, using a Divine Shield on a Dahaka when Dahaka uses adaptation. That is one of the least valuable Divine Shields you can possibly use.
Yes.
So forcing them off of maybe the comfort of Ariel and onto something else, you can afford to give that up. So if we're going to play the pick ban game, play around the Illidan, ban the Ariel, things like that can definitely work out, for Resurgence. So I definitely want to see how these teams approach it and where they think that their strengths lie and how valuable they find things in the draft. Because right now it just seems like they both want to play Illidan, but if you ban Ariel from one team, but if you give up Illidan, what's the real value, right? You didn't play the globals properly. I don't know, man. This game, I don't even know what to expect. I don't even know what to expect. We're going to be on Infernal Shrines, though, Riku.
Yeah, it looks like RSG was the one that picked Infernal Shrines this time. So I'm guessing the map that was picked earlier, which was Sky Temple, was picked by Playstomp.
Playstomp, yeah. So
interesting.
The way that we're doing this, obviously, picking that up differently. If you lose, you get first pick. I believe is the rules. You get first pick or map pick, whichever one you give the other, depending on which one you take. So we are going to be headed to a game number 3, and Infernal Shrines, one of the most balanced battlegrounds I think that we have. We'll see if anybody wants to go Sylvanas on this one to really try and empower one of those Punishers. But the way it works, it's the objective. There's no really avoiding it. I mean, you can avoid it in certain instances, but it's not like Sky Temple where you can back away from it. Cursed Hollow to where you can give up multiple.
Yes.
Like, you have to do this. You give up too many Punishers early, you can. You give up too many Punishers, you'll have a repeat of what you had in last game.
Exactly. It could turn out to be a snowball. But you know what? Resurgence definitely has learned from the second game, knowing that Playstomp might have a few weaknesses here and there in terms of how they want to force these team fights every time. Like, instead of going for something else, they'll try to look for a fight instead of creating a macro play somewhere else. They just want to take the picks, take the risk, make some sneaky plays, and probably Resurgence, if they draft differently in a way that maybe they're more inclined to make these global or macro plays, then perhaps it's something that they can take advantage of against, Playstomp.
This is not one of Illidan's best battlegrounds.
Yeah.
He doesn't do bad, and there's certain teams that actually make it look really good on this map, but it's normally a later draft pick, not an early draft pick. We saw the counter from Brightwing. Again, the Tychus pickup, I'm not sure. Tychus actually is one of the better heroes on this battleground. Little technical issues there. I don't know if that came through on stream.
That startled me, but we're all right.
Oh.
Okay.
That'll wake you up in the morning.
Definitely better than coffee.
if that doesn't show up on stream, then we just look silly because everybody's like,
I jumped. And then
I was like,
we just looked like, I don't know, funny people. Anyway, you were.
I do already. What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, working Illidan into this. We haven't seen Gul'dan. We saw Kel'Thas in the earlier one. So I want to see if these teams change up their strategies or whether it's still going to be Illidan, Ariel, Vala focus. So we'll see that here soon. As I believe we do have the lobby ready and we're just about to head into the game. And I'm wide awake now. I think I'm actually sweating now. It actually scared me.
Same here. Jump from my seat, man. So, I mean, they could just do the same strategy where they would just get a pick first and then they'll activate the shrine because they really love these team fights, especially from Playstomp. So, again, Oriel would definitely be a contested pick. I don't think they would want to give the Genji just yet. But I'm really excited to see a Genji in this tournament in general.
It is. We haven't seen the best play in the earlier drafts, but, one of the things that I actually saw that really you could go in a million different ways on how to highlight this was during the second temple phase on Sky Temple, they recognized how to use Illidan against the global and things like that. They used Illidan to go and secure a fort, things like that. That's something a lot of teams will do on this battleground in particular, as we are ready Riku, for our decider match here
Woo.
in this series between Resurgence and Playstomp.
Playstomp. Yes, sirree. So again, it's really in the side of Resurgence this time, as they played really well. They made the right calls, and Playstomp this time really has to think about their strategies, probably redo, as you have mentioned how their draft, or more not their draft, more of their calls are a bit questionable here and there. But again, this is a new game, a new start, a different map, Infernal Shrines. Let's see what the first ban is going to be.
All right, we've apparently switched sides where Playstomp's on the left, right? So I want to make sure I'm on the right page here. So Playstomp, right? This is the first time we're seeing them with first pick. And we know that they like the Ariel pickup. They're going to go ahead and ban Stitches.
Yep.
And Stitches on this, you have the slam build. The slam build obviously does quite a bit of damage. We've seen a lot of it. His hooks don't have as much value. They do at certain angles, but on this one, obviously, they do hit minions. They do hit the skeletal defender, so you don't get as much value. But when it comes to slam build and control over that, especially late game, post 16, you get the slow on it. It can be pretty terrifying to play into. So Stitches will be taken off the battleground.
Yes, with the slam build that you mentioned, good clear. And again, Genji for the second rotation ban. We're not going to be seeing the Cyborg Ninja on the field. But Oriel, right off the bat,
Yep.
You know what? We're going to take it. We're going to take that opportunity. And Playstomp will really be in a comfortable composition, knowing that they have gotten their comfort support healer.
I'm really surprised in the Genji over the Ariel ban. I mean, you saw what it did in game one. Ariel does really well here. You have multiple targets that always generate hope for yourself, as well as play around many heroes that do really well with Ariel. So now if you're a Resurgence, you really have to consider Vala for yourself early on. I would not be upset at all. I don't know if this is something they play, but a Vala Tassadar here. Tassadar, this is one of his absolute best battlegrounds because he contributes so much to the objective. Vala, very easy to keep hatred stacks up and contribute to a team fight, plus you have this natural synergy there. You do give up the potential of Nubarak Uther, and we've seen Ariel Uther. I don't know if it's something we'd see from Playstomp, but it would do really well to counter Playstomp and play really well to the battleground. They've got 3 seconds. They go Vala Arthas, however.
Instead. Oh, they really value the Arthas pick. This could be like another denial pick, because Playstomp really likes to play Arthas. They picked that for 2 times already in this series, so it really fits with their comp as well. But then again, you said that you'd prefer the Tassadar, as it synergizes really well. That offers a lot of protection to the Vala as well. But we'll see, Playstomp, how will they respond to this?
So one thing Arthas does, he contributes pretty well. You know, he has just good control, good AoE ability here, but he also counters a lot of those dive-heavy melee heroes. And Illidan, I don't think Illidan Ariel is a very good composition unless you end up going into something like an Uther, but then you really lack that traditional play style. It's something they can go. It's something that I saw E-Star do to great effect on this battleground in particular, because Greymane is still available here. So if you were to go into a Greymane Illidan, similar to, you know, some things that we've seen already, then I think that's actually something you could consider.
Wow.
Greymane
and Malthal instead. So a lot of damage coming from the side of Playstomp, definitely. A good mix as well. Good sustained damage and sustain in general.
If Tassadar makes it through the second ban phase and nobody picks it up, my mind will be blown. Just does so well on this battleground. Does so well in all areas. And right now would fit into basically both of these comps. Playstomps, I'm not as sold on it. I think it'd still work really well. Again, Tassadar is so strong.
It's actually quite surprising they Tassadar actually managed to make it through the second phase of the what do you think?
He's strong. He is strong. And like I said, on this battleground in particular, it just does so well. Now, this ban here from Resurgence is actually going to speak volumes to what their composition is going to be. I mean, if you're going more into the auto attack, things like that, you know, we haven't seen as much Johanna lately. They do ban the Tassadar. Thank goodness Tassadar is banned out. There's no way I saw him making it through there.
Yep.
But if you're opting to go more into that auto attack style, and we see the Illidan coming out there.
I guess they don't want the takeaway, or not takeaway, they don't want to see that on Resurgence, but looks like Uther is going to be taken by Resurgence instead. Really good pickup. Quite solid, actually, for Resurgence. but decide to go for the Brightwing as another healer for their side. We'll see how Playstomp responds to this with their last 2 slots. They're lacking that front
Ready for
line.
that Cho'Gall?
Interesting. Interesting.
Right now, it's actually a really good pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the obvious synergy there with Ariel. You've got Greymane to back it up. You've got a solo laner, Malthael. And you have no hard counters right now. Greymane's on your side, and you're going up against a double support. Cho'Gall thrives in that realm. He does well in this battleground in particular. This is one of his better battlegrounds as well. Vala's not tearing you up. Arthas isn't doing a lot of damage. Uther's not doing much, and Brightwing's not doing much. So now you're left with, do you go the back line into like a Tychus just to deal with the Cho'Gall, which it does really well because his grenade will help clear and things like that. But they're giving a lot of thought to this.
Yeah, definitely. With a few seconds left, I mean, they could go for the Cho'Gall pick. But then again, are they prepared to use it? It's the perfect opportunity with Resurgence, with no slots left to counter it, as they have decided to lock in Johanna and Rhaegar instead. So they played it safe. They
played it
safe,
super
JR.
safe. The one thing they do have between Greymane, Johanna, and Rhaegar is insane Shrine Clear. You put the Lightning Shield onto a JoJo who walks in there with Condemn. Greymane can go into the cocktail build and really spread that once that's stacked. You know, Malthael does really well in defense in case things go wrong. You know, Arthas and Vala are nothing to scoff at when it comes to that Shrine Clear, but they need some damage here. I don't...
Yeah.
I feel like Dahaka would be a fine choice here, but then you're solely reliant on the Vala. Dahaka, again, gives you that global control. I just haven't been impressed with the play so far.
Yeah, you really have to respect the Malthael and the Greymane, and if it's going to be a solo DPS Vala, then just as you mentioned, Resurgence's composition might be a little bit too linear in terms of damage source. So we'll see if they're going to pick another frontliner or most likely another damage dealer. But if they do pick another frontline, then okay, Chromie.
Okay, well that is not what I had anticipated. The Chromie does well against Ariel in the sense that if you can force out a Crystal Aegis, it makes for an easy skill shot. Ariel doesn't generate hope unless she's getting damage from other people. Chromie's hard to hit. Yes. Slowing sands around there can give you good battleground control. And, you know, we look, so Johanna can get through there. But Rhaegar, Malthael, Greymane, the minute they all get in there, they have a hard time getting out, especially against slowing sands. And I'm really trying to see how it fits in there because they're leaving solo Arthas on the front line. They do have double support, but they've got Vala and Chromie. So you've got a good mix of auto attack damage and spell damage. I'm just not a big fan. I like Chromie on this battleground just for the slowing sands control. Level 8, you get it, right? So you have the slowing sands control around the shrine, which the minute somebody steps past her, think about Rhaegar. Rhaegar is a support, and you're blowing him up, and he's forced to use cooldowns. Everybody's forced to use cooldowns here. So it's going to be the burden is going to be onto Ariel and Greymane to really kind of get that hope. When you look at generators, you know, Malthael, Greymane, your hope might not be the same way you want. So Rhaegar heals have got to be timed well. Ariel's got to be timed well. The Chromie has a lot of potential here.
Exactly. I mean, I'm actually afraid of Playstomp's composition and how they're going to enter the fight because there's not much openings, especially if Resurgence has a lot of zoning control. But you know what? Let's head into Infernal Shrines for our third game. This is the moment of truth. Who's going to win, Playstomp or Resurgence?
These drafts are just getting weirder and weirder every game. And I tell you, giving up Ariel, I think, to Playstomp is one of the things that we didn't. It was banned out in Game 2. It's back on Game 1. I think that might be the X factor here.
Yes, we'll see how Playstomp revolves around this because, you know, they got the Oriel already, and they had the potential to actually pick a Cho'Gall, but decided to play safe instead with the Johanna and the Rhaegar as their secondary healer. More zoning control from Zappi here on the Chromie. But we'll see. Brightwing. Resurgence seems to have a, what do you call this, similar strategy as before. Oh, wait, no, Brightwing was at Playstomp at the previous game, so yeah. Scratch that.
Right out of the gates, Chromie going into Q build. And again, slowing sands is going to make hitting skill shots infinitely easier, and you're going to have a lot of melee targets. So, Chromie Q build at level 1 is not something we traditionally see, but I think I'm a fan in this game.
Yes, Suri. I mean, Southeast Asia, as Babel mentioned, you see a lot of unique things being played out on the field here, especially at our top 8 being featured in this tournament. So again, with the safe rotations, as this is, again, the moment of truth here, as it is currently 1-1, Lauda just landing a little bit of harass here against Yu Yang, but there's the stun landing onto Perez.
And we're going piercing. So full Q build, not going into Bronze Talon. So now we have piercing sands at level 4, which means it's going to go through the first target hit, and it's going to hit another. So to me, this is just... Okay, so one thing, Johanna's health pool a few months back was nerfed. She has block at level 1, didn't go regen master, block to deal with a lot of the follow picks. But you can lock that in. And one thing that she will suffer against is poke from Mage. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get it off consistently as we see Chromie continuing to try and land skill shots. But the fact that we're seeing Q build, it'll 100% be slow in Sands at this point. But Zappy, there's a lot that relies on him in this game.
Exactly, as that's a really nice play skill shot. Coming from Zappy, there's a slow coming from the Rehgar as well with a totem. Yu Yang with a Howling Blast just to deny that. Lauda taking a lot of hits from Zappy on the Chromie. But again, it's more like I fear about how Playstomp is going to start fights here, as Resurgence has a really good control over terrain with a first Infernal Shrine spawning. Look at that blasting, the Howling Blast plus Chromie shots just really synergizes well together. So that's easy skill shots, just as you mentioned, as his Goa lands into the fray. There's a blind from the Johanna.
Picture this in about 4 to 5 minutes as we see the first blood being onto Malthel. But look at the members of Playstop and how aggressive they are. The minute Chromie gets level 8, they're going to be in trouble unless they full commit to a dive. So just a glimpse into the future, full Chromie style, something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. I mean, you gotta respect Zappy here on the Chromie with TNK getting poked out. There comes Yu Yang, just detainment strike onto the wall. Nicely done. Here comes the blind. Yu Yang super low. Arthas on the run with Pizza Xiao will be the one to suffer. One man down for Resurgence as Bun Bun is quite in trouble, but here comes the heal. A lot of hopes coming in, but Zappy with explosive damage. But here comes Resurgence just trying to be the wall. His Goa will be in trouble. That's 1-1 so far, but they will settle for that as the Punisher strikes on the side of Playstomp.
One thing to be said about not going Bronze Talons is that your damage is Chromie. You can throw out the Q, obviously, to attack minions, as chat would say. But using that Chromie Q to get that auto attack damage does contribute really well to the clear. So Zappy obviously forced to go full mage as the Punisher, getting that triple stop value. But just, man, I tell you, the Chromie pick is still highly questionable. And we are seeing level 7, the extra Dragon's Eye damage. And every time that lands, that is massive, massive damage when it hits in the middle.
Yeah, a lot of weight on towards Zappy's shoulders here on the Chromie. As we see that the first Punisher definitely on the side of Playstomp, but here we might see a sneaky play with Oriel just getting the sweeps from our hope, as they will reach level 7 soon. Resurgence finding the opportunity here. I mean, I was a bit worried about Playstomp, how they enter the fight, but all they need to do is definitely wait for these Infernal Shrines to activate, and then they can play around that. They really don't have to start anything just yet, especially if objectives are not on the table. They're really just not pressured at all. They seemed a little bit more composed compared to the second match that we witnessed.
I love the pressure from Playstop, is that there's not any real threat. If they wanted to be aggressive with this composition, I would be all for it. They've already captured 2 camps, and I would not be surprised if they walk up and just steal the camp on the side of Resurgence. I mean, there's really no answer. Chromie landing into the skill shots is really the only thing that's going to get in there. Obviously, hitting those Qs. She's 23 already into that questing talent. Only needs 2 more to get that bonus damage. So again, as it goes on, Chromie will get stronger, but early game, I think that was Playstomp's opportunity to be more aggressive. Right here, I mean, Greymane, Johanna, just dive right in and feast on these guys.
Exactly. I guess, you know, coming from the second game where they were too aggressive at times, they decided to be more reserved. But then again, just as you mentioned, they could have taken advantage of their draft, especially Chromie here right now. As we see, the second shrine to spawn, with the shrine being activated as well. Yu Yang starting with the minions here, with Capricorn being in range of a few heroes here.
There it is. There's the zoning potential of Chromie. And slowing sands are going to be put down, and it's going to make it really hard to engage. She continues to hit her skill shots, but again, the double support, and of course Ariel at level 7 with just insane heals. There it is. There's the burst damage. If they can get proper follow-up on that, as Hiskoa is just barely going to survive, Zappy is creating all kinds of havoc right now.
Yeah, this is perfect. There comes the stun plus Howling Blast. Bun might be in trouble here as his skill shot misses. And there we go. He managed to escape as Yu Yang is super low. Nice clutch heal by the Uther there and the Brightwing. As Playstomp, a lot of members are really low. TNK has a few hope there, has a few energy left for some heals, as Bun dodges that. TNK uses the heal, uses the Q. Capricorn there on the sides as Yu Yang is stunned. Detainment strike to the wall. Yu Yang in trouble as he is blinded as well, super low. He will suffer from that as he will be the first member to fall from Resurgence. TNK will heal that back up from Zappy's damage. They are A-OK as they are still quite doing the dance around the objective.
Perez doing a really good job of feeding that hope over to Ariel. Despite Chromie landing all those skill shots, it just instantly gets healed up. And it's about priority targeting, is that if you're trying to go in as Chromie and you're landing these skill shots, you've got to anticipate and you've got to trust in your skill shot maker to follow up on those. And that's kind of the thing that we're lacking, is consistently landing the skill shots, but the rest of the team isn't necessarily following. And I think that they're just trying to do damage. And the minute they get that one pick, the fight opens wide open for them. But right now they have level 10 plus a Punisher being forced upon this top fort.
Wow, interesting turn of events here from Playstomp as they are marching towards the top side of the map. There's Chromie's zoning tool, but it won't do them any good as Resurgence has to respect the level 10. They will reach level 10 soon enough as Yu Yang is starting to gain some control here. But looks like they're just going to respect that and back away.
Yeah, and I'm okay with Brightwing just staying in the bottom. They've picked up 10. There's no real threat of that Punisher doing much more damage. It gives you an opportunity to close that gap in terms of experience. It hasn't been responded to yet, as we see a camp being stolen here on the side of Resurgence by Playstomp. It looks like they thought about setting up a party bush there, but instead they're going to fall back.
Exactly. Resurgence, you know, I think they're going to be playing a little bit reserved during the few moments, especially that they already have lost 2 Punishers to Playstomp, as they really can't finish off the necessary targets. Again, they have double healers, they have a lot of sustain going on, they keep the damage up, so Ariel has a lot of sustain, has a lot of energy to pull up the heals. But look at this, they are still here in this camp. They want to contest, but looks like they are not in the position to do so at the moment.
Zappy not even bothering to put the slowing sands down, but we do see the Howling Blast getting the root in. No follow-up there. Again, I'm sure if we actually take a look at Chromie damage numbers, they're insane. 37,000 damage.
Yes.
That's amounted to not a lot of kills. And that's the biggest thing.
Exactly. It's like Playstomp really knows how to play around this composition. They know that they don't have to 100% commit to diving in. They can just reposition themselves, wait, just as you mentioned earlier, all they have to do is get the hope in, get their energy in through the Oriole, heal them back up, and then that's the time they can go back into the fight. Their Playstomp definitely knows how to play around this, and I'm really impressed coming from game number 2. Look at their rotation, super aggressive right now. They are going to take down another structure as it is in their favor. I mean, that's going to be the bottom shrine for themselves, really so timely, as there are 2 camps already alive for the side of Playstomp. And meanwhile, Resurgence members are already at the top side as well.
Yeah, this is exactly the response that they need right now. They need to take structures down. They need to close the gap to 13 so they can contest. I talked about the strength of the objective, and if they continue to give up these Punishers, eventually all of your structures are going to be gone. So one thing that you can do in response when you see that many members committed to trying to soak, you just push in that lane. And fortunate for them, it's also the lane, as we see Perez eating a lot of damage there, it's also the lane the Punisher is going to be in. So now, because you chose the entire other side of the map, the appropriate response from Playstop, just walk right in, soften it up, and then they'll have a Punisher which could potentially be taking a keep now.
Exactly. Exactly. 37 to 40 already. They will manage to get the last few minions as Resurgence. Yes, they have achieved level 13 as well, but then they have to play defense at the moment. But, you know, I think that would be the best play that they could have done on the top side of the map at least. That'll give them at least a consolation prize. But yeah, they have to defend through this, and we'll see if Playstomp will force a fight here, as they know that they have the Punisher on their side.
The scariest thing is, again, Chromie's landing skill shots on all the heroes, but your main focus right now has got to be this Punisher, and Chromie doesn't really do much to contribute to that at all, and they're just going to push right in. Understanding this, no slowing stands are out. This keep is going to fall as we see the Punisher jumping over. The big blind is going to come out. They're on the backside there, Riku.
Wow, very well done. Look at that. That's Meltis almost dying, but looks like Pizza will try to body block. Looks like the clutch heal will work well. Perez very low as well. Zappy landing a bunch of skill shots as well. There comes the Aegis, but Loda is just sacrificing herself just to zone away the members of Resurgence as Zappy tries to chase them down. There's 4 members left still on Playstomp as they decide to retreat away from Resurgence. We'll see if they're able to dodge this hit. Skoa, there comes the slowing sands, there comes the root, all of it just perfect for Resurgence. Very well played, 2 members down, and they're willing to catch more members from Playstomp. We'll see if they can catch the TNK, the Oriole, as they're already mounted. TNK almost at the base. Here comes the slow, and there comes the root, everything. Again, TNK with the clutch. Are you going to drink from the well? Nope, denied.
Just able to get that attack over the wall, but if I'm Playstomp and I say, is it more valuable for me to take this keep and walk away, or is it more valuable for me to dive all the way onto the core to try and get kills and not get them? That's tough, and you know what? We're going to take a second look at that as well, because we want to see where things kind of went right and went wrong for Playstomp and Resurgence here.
There we go. So, yeah, they
just
went
kill the
all
core.
way.
Just, not the core, but kill the keep.
Yeah.
They're trying to, even if you get the kills on the backside, what do you really gain out of it? You don't necessarily, you gain experience. You do the exact same thing killing the keep, plus you gain the battleground control. Instead, they now have to walk all the way from the enemy team's core, past the keep, all the way back to their fort.
Yeah.
That is almost impossible.
I mean, they already had the Punisher on their side. They, again, Playstomp really likes these fights. They saw the potential of getting a few kills, and maybe, you know, they tunnel visioned on the potential game ender if they managed to get like 3 members down, or probably an ace. But then again, they could have played it safe. They could have not given the advantage back to Resurgence, and because of that, look at that contrast. They lose a fort instead.
They lose the fort, they lose the lead, they lose just about everything in the process. I mean, Resurgence was busy trying to soak XP just to stay in the game, and all of a sudden they have the experience lead. Yes, their structures are lower, and now, because that camp being picked up at the bottom, it's going to force Brightwing. Brightwing needs to go ahead and make her way down to the bottom to try and defend that lane, else they're going to have to respond unless they pick up a Punisher quick here, and right now they've got an early start, 13 Skeletal Defenders.
There we go. Just as you mentioned, 15 Skeletal Defenders. There's Perez being healed up again, back to full HP. Johanna actually dives in. Their target is the Vala. Melt is pretty low, being assisted by the Brightwing here. But look at that. Yu Yang might get a little bit stuck here as we enter the Aegis. We are very well played. His Goa still pretty safe. Capricorn super low at the moment. And the DOT shots will actually not be enough. Nicely done heal. What a prolonged fight. Yu Yang super low as well. A lot of heals coming from the side of Resurgence. No targets being finished, but looks like that'll be it for Yu Yang. Finally, look at that. 1 kill for Resurgence.
Oh, they're going to, the hammer drop it onto the minion on the camp there. That's exactly who you're trying to drop that hammer on, but now we're going to see good flank that came out there. Chromie, Bun Bun, got to be careful. Zappy's got to be careful with the positioning. They can't, I don't think there's a way they can get this. 18 seconds still till they get back. Brightwing's trying to defend the camp at the bottom. There's just no way that they can defend this.
We'll see, though, if they can manage to buy some time, but then again, they're really destroying minions so fast. And looks like they'll be able to get the Punisher pushed through the mid lane rather. But still, look at the camp still alive. Brightwing forced to protect that as they gotta go defense mode. We'll see if we're gonna have a deja vu where they push all the way up to the core instead of destroying a keep. But, you know, they probably have learned their lesson.
We're approaching critical levels when we look at the time of the Punisher here, just over 15 minutes in, is that you don't have the proper siege defense when you have a Chromie, and she didn't go Bronze Town, so you're relying on getting skill shots onto heroes, and it's just being healed up. So now you approach critical here as its Punisher should be falling a lot faster against normal comps.
Yes, moment of truth. Again, you mentioned how they're just going to keep healing that damage up, Bun Bun being the target of that skill shot, as they are going to respect Resurgence, and they're going to back away instead of looking for more kills. They're going to mount in and settle for camps instead, but looks like Resurgence is going to contest these. Oh, Loda, actually, look at that. Sneaky, sneaky.
Oh, Chromie dropping the bomb there on multiple people as they come through the choke there. And now we see Maltha all over that backside, and Pizza Xiao somehow alive for the moment as the Divine Storm, or Divine Shield, keeps Meltus alive, but Brightwing will fall, and so does Uther.
Yu Yang actually zoning TNK away, Aegis onto herself just to keep her safe. And look at that, Arthas will be all alone as there's no one left to protect, with Zappy and Meltus just going to go back to base, respect this, as 2 members are gone on the side of Resurgence. The death timers at this point are pretty long, but man, oh man, that fight.
More than that, they end up finally getting that keep out of it. And that's something that probably should have happened several minutes ago, but now you have that control. We already saw that Brightwing, she does have the global, but she struggles when it comes to clearing camps. So, and now is something that you also find as well with those catapults. And if you can continue to get those, the impalers at the bottom where we see on the minimap, Greymane is down there. But, you know, I would love to see maybe a slow cap here. If it's an early cap, it's okay, but a slow cap means that it waits, you get the 20-tier advantage, they're less likely to try to invade, plus you have it pushing during the objective phase. So it's not a bad thing to capture it at that point, but they're going to try and find an advantage somewhere else on the battleground.
Yes, sirree. And actually, I really thought the team fight earlier, that was Resurgence's time to shine, because that was the perfect Howling Blast. That was the perfect skill shot coming from Zappy on the Chromie. It hit like 3 or 4 targets. But then again, that's the problem. They don't have enough to actually finish the targets up, even though they have a lot of bursts coming from the Chromie. It just gets healed back up coming from the side of the Rehgar from the Oriole. Is just too perfect for them. And now another Shrine has activated, and they're way at the bottom side. They just probably want to take level 20 because it's just going to be really problematic for them if they want to face this. Maybe they just want to play defense again and try to see if they can make this happen, where the first push down towards the core, but then it's level 20, man.
Well, it's going to be up to Resurgence. They need to get 20. They're going to have to defend the camps that are pushing mid and top lane. They're obviously going to be down against this. Right now, you actually could start to work up towards there, but because both camps were captured. So now you're going to have to rely on the heroes on your side to bait that Punisher from the top keep to the mid keep. That's going to be your best chance for defense. I saw this when I was here previously. We saw a little bit of, we did it appropriately, but then somebody else took the advantage of it. So right now, it's up to, it's got to be Arthas here or somebody. You could even use Brightwing, Blink Heal out of this thing, but you've got to bait it there. You do have the slowing sands, but you have to bait this to the mid keep. This top keep wall is already down. You don't want to lose the second keep. It's okay to give up the keep, but if you lose 1 to 2 members, you give up the game. You have to play and give up as much as you can and sacrifice without giving up too much.
This is pretty scary. This is, again, the moment of truth as we see Perez super low, Capricorn actually just zoning them away with Yu Yang guarding the front line. Playstomp just playing this really well. They are onto the fort with Resurgence playing, of course, hesitantly, as this might be that crucial moment. Playstomp really respecting the last few moments here. I mean, last few moments of the Punisher.
They're respecting the slowing sands, I can tell you that much. Slowing sands is just like, you shall not pass, and if you do, it's going to be really, really slow. But level 20 has been picked up here. You're down 2 keeps if you're on the side of Resurgence. You have to start looking to get picks. If not get picks, you 100% are going to have to take the next team fight at the next shrine. There's no way you can survive another Punisher. I don't think they've picked up a single one yet, have they?
No.
They have lost every single one. And again, the Chromie has done just bonkers damage. 100,000 damage.
Yeah.
But what has it actually led to? What has it actually led to?
Yeah, they haven't translated into an objective just yet. So, Resurgence, they keep playing the defense game as they keep losing all these Punishers with Playstomp, taking a lot of kills. Meltus just going to spin around. and forced to back away. That was really close, though. If they lost to Vala at this point of the game, it would be really scary for their side. All camps secured by Playstomp. They have a lot of control over the map as Zappy tries to find or get information on where they are going to be rotating, as Resurgence will try. There's the root onto their Johanna. Will be A-okay as they are not able to steal the camp.
This is a scary moment. They're like, guys, I think we should cap that. Yeah, okay, let me go in. I think I'm stuck here. I think I better walk out. So let me just pop Iron Skin. Here's the invade. Here's the pick. They're going to try and force a fight here, but Detainment Strike into the wall, and now all of a sudden Capricorn all kinds of trouble. But we do have the slowing sands that are dropping down. We've got the fight as we see Pizza Xiao on the backside, and things are about to get louder as he's on that back line trying to do damage, Riku.
Oh no, Meltis will be the first one to fall on the side of our Resurgence, and Yu Yang as well, just trying to zone them away with a Howling Blast, but no good will do them well as they're just chasing them down with no response or disengage whatsoever. Capricorn will be the next one to fall. They're keeping them alive, but here comes the blind as well. Pizza Xiao will just teleport onto Zappy. It'll be A-okay, but then again, look at that.
It's not over.
It's not over as Uther.
Uther's coming back. That's the thing. We see the ice block there, and they're going to miss that. But again, with slowing sands and everything here, you know, if they give up too much more, the fact that Uther, you know, he's coming back, look at the slow on that.
Oh my. Loda could actually be in trouble here as the stun lands, but look at that. Capricorn very low as well. Again, you mentioned it's not over. Resurgence holding on to their last, or not last breath, but they're holding on to this game.
Tell you what, man, they're holding on to that death's breath. Shout out to Diablo. Man, I missed that game. But I tell you what, right now, it's Resurgence has to take another fight. You're 8 seconds away from Arthas. You have no choice but to just walk right up and fight. You cannot back down. You can't do anything but fight. Go out on your shield. If you try and defend this, you're in trouble. They're going to go in. Capricorn already posturing up. The rest of the team starting to make their way around. This is going to be the fight that decides it. If Resurgence will stay in, look for the slowing sands to go down. The timer over there, the slowing sands on that side. Now Resurgence has a chance.
Definitely. They have control over the shrine as Playstomp waits for Bun Bun. And Paris just lurking around the corner. Lada looking for the correct opportunity. Actually spots Zappy and decides to respect that. They were
just walks right in. Puts the time trap down. That's a good position, but Lada saw it be in place, is going to walk right around. Gets on that backside. The hammer is dropped there. Yu Yang on that front side. Gets the Detainment Strike, but does not get pushed in the wall. And Chromie starting to land the skill shots, and Brightwing has now shifted in. But we are on a timer here as Catapults. You look at the minimap. We're not going to take a look at it, but Catapults will be on the core here momentarily. The Punisher's almost picked up. They have to take this fight, Riku.
Exactly. Playstomp just has to buy some time. There's a Howling Blast with 3-man root. A lot of members are really low on the side of Resurgence as well. Aegis actually drops Johanna as well, very low, but he's still alive. Look at those shields. They're very thick. Yu Yang just decides to back away and respect. But look at that. Bun Bun super low as well. They are forced to fight, and they are
Catapults on core.
Catapults indeed, 60%. They're not letting Playstomp, they're not letting Resurgence go home. We're going to keep you fighting. It's okay. Yu Yang finishes a lot of targets. Loda is the only one left. 30% already on towards the core. They have no time. They're
21%. I mean, Catapults alone have done just incredible damage, and this Punisher is
even there.
I mean, they got the team wipe. I mean, it was just about 30 seconds too late. Like, you have to commit. We saw the stall tactic, and Johanna, shout out to Lauda on that one, because if he does not flank there. The other thing is that Chromie put that time trap down, and the one small play was Lauda just like, let me just go around. I saw you put it there. You're not, I mean, it's like the Roadrunner versus the Wile E. Coyote. Look, I saw you put that there. Like, you're not fooling anybody. But the play by him to flank multiple times, especially on that shrine, because he actually did it earlier in the game on that very same shrine, in that very same position. He did that multiple times. There's one thing that Johanna can do for you because you have Iron Skin, is they just walked around, they forced the flank. And what do? You don't have Bronze Talon, so you're contributing to not much against Johanna. You're going up against double support. You're trying to land infinite skill shots on the backside. Again, 141,000 damage for Chromie. Looks phenomenal on there. I mean, if I'm looking like, oh, who's a good Chromie player? I look at this guy, I'm thinking, gosh dang, man, that's a lot of damage. But it's a matter of trying to get that. We are going to have the replay of the final fight because we got to see the fact that Lauda came in on that backside. I hope, I don't know where we're cutting in at this, but we got to see this. The timing is everything.
Exactly.
And we're going to take a look at that.
Man, I mean, Lotta really well played there, zoning away the rest of the members of Resurgence. Beautiful blind as well.
I mean, Ariel heals, just keeping everybody alive. You can see the well-timed Ancestral there. I mean, everything about this fight, both teams were putting everything that they could out there as Pizza Xiao was the first to pull. But again, this fight does turn around, and look at that Chromie damage. I mean, at that point, TNK's like, guys, I need some hope here because we're about to go down. Skill shot landed, but everybody on the side, it was just chaos this late in the game. But there's a point where it's too little too late.
Yeah, I mean, Playstomp, all they had to do was just buy some time for the catapults to rush in. I mean, top side, bot side is just really in their favor. Plus, the Punisher was actually marching down already to the mid lane, so it's just them stopping the ports, basically.
That was the thing, is that they walked up, they knew they had to take the fight. They put the slowing sands on the side. That's a perfect spot for it. You force them to walk in. Johanna comes around the other side. So now you have to think, like, all right, can we get the time trap there? No matter what, you have to engage there. You cannot go. You go with Punisher, it's game anyways. You're already on a timer because you knew you had to fight.
Yes.
So the catapults are going to make their way. So at some point, you can't give up. Giving up one is bad. Just giving up. If you stall it out long enough, the catapults will end anyways. And they were just about to end. But then you have to think, if we give up Punisher, it's game as well. So you have to just, as hard as it is, with a Chromie volley, it's so hard to just be like, we're going to take a fight. We're going to force it onto you. We're going to take a fight. It's so hard to do that with that composition, especially not going into, again, Chromie damage was unreal.
Yeah.
But is it effective? And that's something that I used to talk about in Nazebo about a year and a half ago. Nazebo used to look really good before he was reworked. He used to do plenty of damage, but was it effective damage? And it just wasn't effective. And dare I say it wasn't effective when you do 141,000 damage. It wasn't effective in the fact that they didn't pick up a Punisher, they weren't able to play the objective, and they weren't able to turn things around.
Exactly. I can't imagine the mental torture at the last few moments of the fight, knowing the fact that, you know, your base is already under attack, your core is wide open. So, yeah, well played to Playstomp. After a best-of-3 series, 1-1, they managed to finish out with a 2-1. So, congratulations.
Congratulations to them. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will have Deadly Kittens versus Fighting Doges.
Doges.
The doggies, the dogs, the Doges. They're going to be coming up right after this break. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.